Good morning, everyone. I'm Ashwinder from Group 7, and today I'm here to discuss to develop a free trade agreement through South America, not like the free trade agreement we have seen in the North America. To evaluate this, we need to know what is happening with the NAFTA, the history and its contradiction, advantages, why it was significant. With the introduction, why when NAFTA is effective. NAFTA is effective on the January 1st, 1994, and the NAFTA was established to promote a trade among the USA, Canada, and the Mexico. Why NAFTA is significant for the trade and the sourcing? Because it's eliminate the import and export duties between the three particular countries. And the second point is in order to prevent the enterprises from moving to other countries in order to take the advantages of lower wages. And the third point is the both parties of this agreement emphasize the need to establish strong shared standards in the security of working environment, worker rights, and the natural security. The next slide will be explained by the Shravya.
Thank you, Ashwinder. In terms of EPIC, the following were the most important provisions: eliminating restrictions on trade, protection of intellectual property, labor and environment protections, resolution of conflict, and criticism. The recent update of NAFTA and changes happened at the end intro of USMCA. The former president of USA, Donald Trump, came into the office in January 2017 with a promise to renegotiate NAFTA, which he frequently referred as the worst trade pact ever. Then he threatened to withdraw the country if the deal was not changed to his favor, and promised to increase the number of manufacturing jobs in US as the centerpiece of his strategy. Next slides will be explained by my friend Sagar.
Thank you, Shravya. Here we are going to discuss regarding the background of South America trading, how it's been done internal and externally. So internally, few banks were financially like helping the trading for South America. It was started in 1980s, and later on, it started with marketing techniques which profited many several countries. Could you please go for the next slide? Ashwinder, yeah, thank you. And external trade to speed up the industrialization, imports of basic goods are necessary, particularly capital and simple intermediate items. In terms of value, primary commodities, including foodstuffs and plant-based food goods, fuel, and raw materials, make up the majority of the South America exports. And inability of exports to external finance to generate enough money to pay for those imports. One fourth of the imports into South America is from United States, and one seventh from Western Europe, and remaining one seventh are from the inside the continent itself. Next slide, please. So, internal trade background of South America. So it has grown and now making a one fifth of all the exports. In reality, diversifies the exports, reduces its overall reliable on international market, and resolves balance of payment issues. Binational barter agreements have significantly partaken in this trade, which are like in between the two particular countries. So the difficulties having agreement through the South America under EPIC is like it's not same like how it is being handled in the North America. There are few rules and regulations changed, and we are going to discuss like what would be the new agreement to be added, just like the NAFTA. And here on, the Pankaj will be taking charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagar. My name is Pankaj Soni. So, if we talk about the economic output, the rate of goods and services produced in Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay was approximately $1.9 trillion. So, according to the data which we got from the World Bank. So, on the other hand, the Pacific Alliance and the second largest trading bloc in Latin America has a combined GDP of around $1.8 trillion. So in the year of 2016, the output of Brazil, Argentina, and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela diminished. Other countries in the region's growth rates had also slowed. So if we talk about the population of South America, which is made up of 12 countries and 3 territories, is around 430 million, which includes 6% of all people on the planet. So in the case of exchange rate, the currency devaluation in Peru has historically been unexpected. Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Paraguay are in the center of the group. Argentina, Bolivia, Costa Rica, Panama, and Uruguay are the countries in Latin America that are most delicate to a drop in their currencies. Next slide, please, bro. So if we talk about politics, ease of doing business in Latin America and the Caribbean, Chile was a nation where conducting business was the simplest according to the recent research. So on the scale of from 0 to 100, where 100 represent the greatest possible performance in the terms of ease of doing business. Chile achieved a score of 72.6, which was a very good score. So in the year 2019, with a score of 30.2%, Venezuela was rated as the least business-friendly nation in the area. And another point of political stability, while Brazil and Venezuela are much less stable than other South American countries and have a severe corruption issue, in the case of Chile and Uruguay are the most open and political stable countries in the region. And in the case of Colombia, Colombia is now flourishing after recovering from the prior instances of gang violence. And now come to the intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rules in Latin America countries have a historical lag behind those in the US and other European countries. In the recent decades, the region has strengthened its stance on intellectual property. Businesses heavily consider the level of legal protection for their products and or services when deciding whether to invest in a country or not. So next slide, please. So if we talk about the infrastructure, an effective transportation system is prominent for the development and the growth of the countries. So in South America, the main modes of transportation for products continue to be railroads and roads only. Latin America has a serious infrastructure gap, and several organizations have frequently stressed the region's need to increase investments in key sectors, including communication, sanitation, electricity, and housing. So if we talk about telecommunication in general, South America lacks a well-developed communication infrastructure. Moreover, fixed broadband penetration is limited and mostly concentrated in the cities only. On the other hand, mobile phone base station density per square kilometer is lower than it is in other regions. Having said that, structural limitations, Latin America's economic and societal progress still depends on access to the internet. Chile has consistently been one of the OECD countries with the highest monthly mobile data consumption per subscriber. So this is all from my side. Now, Mashur will be covering the next slides. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pankaj. I'm here to explain other factor under EPIC framework, which is competency, customs, literacy rate, and logistics. Competency Under competency, we have a lower productivity point. In South America, low labor productivity has been a significant problem. All other nations except for Brazil and Colombia, which have lower labor force participation rates and are experiencing labor shortages due to either low labor force participation rates or a lack of trained labor. On the other point, customs, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay decided to do away with custom fees, apply a 35% single external tariff on some imports from outside the bloc, and establish a shared trade policy with other nations and blocs. Coming to literacy rate, in terms of education, Argentina, Brazil, and Chile are leading with a very high literacy rate. Compared to this, Venezuela have a very low literacy rate. Colombia, Peru, and Uruguay following the more or less similar. Because of low literacy rate, there is not enough skilled for workforce to attract FDI, I mean foreign direct investment and from foreign countries. Logistics is a very strong part of South America. This is the strongest part, I would say. All of the countries except for Venezuela has exceedingly well in global standards. Reasons behind a free trade agreement in South America. Trade has a huge potential to boost the economy and fight poverty. A recent example of this accomplishment is South America, which benefited from high commodity prices to improve economic performance and create higher paying jobs. The area went through a period of rapid expansion, with notable improvements in its economic and social indicators, mostly fueled by global trade. These trends were sparked by trade liberalization, which was primarily brought about by the multilateral decrease of tariffs and made possibly by the rise in the number of regional trade agreements. New possibilities for the future of trade agreements are presented by recent political and economic events. So the analysis coming to the current and recent agreements in South America. Trade agreements among South American nations have always been related to their efforts at economic integration, which have been a persistent part of their economic policy since the middle of the preceding century. So these actions accelerated the liberalization of international trade inside the CAN and Mercosur. So these two agreement, which actually significant and actually laid down the groundwork, the basic work for the creation of free trade agreements, both within the inside and outside. Although there are several channels for integration and collaboration between the nations of Latin America, they tend to be more focused on political connections with little to no interest in economic or commercial issues. The next slides will be explained by Anish, assumptions and recommendation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mushir. My name is Anish Patania. Now we are coming to assumptions and recommendations. First of all, South America is very well connected. And having said that, their main aim is to reduce tariffs. There will be some obstacles in doing so, but they could overcome it easily with collective efforts. The majority of trade agreements between the countries lack commitments in areas such as intellectual property rights. So they do need to work on that, and they have already taken first few steps in that. And coming to conclusion, next slide, please. Learning from their previous trade deals, South America could create its own free trade agreement, putting certain conditions upon the entry of weaker nations like Venezuela could be beneficial for the trade agreement. Earlier in North America trade deal, Mexico benefited the most, while America was not gaining much by signing the deal, and it eventually led to the formation of a new deal and discarding the old one. Other important factors for qualifying as a member in a free trade deal could be primacy rate, urbanization rate, and a stable exchange rate. Also, for South America, adopting a common currency like European Union did could be very beneficial as it would stabilize their exchange rate and the participating countries could trade with each other in a common currency. This would reduce and eliminate their internal differences and would also lead to peace and stability in the region. Learning from the past mistakes and looking up to successful European Union trade deal and United States Mexico Canada agreement could bear fruitful results for South America. Thank you everyone. This was the presentation of Team 7.